death, then went to his own funeral just to see who would actually care. And what he saw will completely change, and faked his own death, then went to his own funeral just to see who would actually care. And what he saw will completely change how you live your life. He expected a massive crowd, but only 11 people showed up. His wife cried for exactly 4 minutes. Then she pulled out her phone to scroll. His best friend of 30 years didn't even bother coming. His co-workers weren't even mourning. They were literally standing near the casket laughing about a work project. And the priest, he pronounced his name wrong twice. He quietly went home, looked in the mirror, and understood. He had spent 60 years performing for an audience that wasn't watching. Every single sacrifice. Every time he stressed over, what will people think? Every dream sacrificed to meet someone else's expectation. All of it for 11 people and a mispronounced name. Man faked his own. This grandson stole $50 from his grandfather's wallet every week, and what was actually happening is way darker than you'd think. Every Sunday, the kid would slide into Grandpa's house, hug the old man, then slip cash straight out of his wallet before leaving, and Grandpa caught him every single time. Never said a word. The boy started getting cocky, laughing about it, called the old man senile behind his back, and told his friends Grandpa's brain was buffering. This went on for years. Then Grandpa died. The whole family shows up for the will. The house, the savings, all of it goes to charity, except one envelope with the grandson's name on it. He opens it thinking, jackpot. Inside, every single $50 bill he ever stole over the years, and a note that said, I let you take it so you'd come visit. Seeing you was worth the money. I'm sorry I wasn't interesting enough to visit for free. His grandson stole $50 from his grandfather's wallet every week, and what was actually happening is way darker than you'd think.
Okay, this app actually surprised me. It's called Sekai.
An evil babysitter tortured a
I saw
Okay, this app actually.
I saw C daily watch this, and he said it's basically Zacty phones but Roblox of fun.
An evil babysitter tortured a quiet kid every time his parents left, but his revenge was pure genius. Once they drove off, she went wild, drinking their expensive wine, stealing cash, and inviting sketchy guys over. When the kid threatened to tell, she laughed, smashed his iPad, and sneered, "They'll never believe a problem child over a sweet college girl." The second his parents got home, she faked tears, claiming the kid went crazy and trashed the house. The dad was furious, telling the boy he was being packed up for boarding school. The babysitter smirked, but the kid didn't panic and tapped his wrist. She took his phone and his tablet, but totally forgot about his Apple Watch. He hit play, and crystal clear audio of her secret party blasted through the living room. The parents didn't just fire her, they called the cops. Remember, arrogance is usually the quickest path to your own destruction. Evil babysitter tortured a quiet kid. This man lost his mind because his wife kept a spare bedroom locked, and the truth is devastating. She wore the only key around her neck and strictly forbade him from entering. Paranoia quickly took over. He stopped sleeping, convinced she was hiding a dark secret or another man. At 3 a.m., he'd press his ear to the door and hear her softly crying. Finally, he snapped. He grabbed a crowbar and violently smashed the door open, ready to expose her secret. But he froze. There was no money, no other man, just an empty baby nursery with a small crib covered in dust. Suddenly, groceries hit the floor behind him. His wife stood there bursting into tears. "Why is this locked?" She fell to her knees, sobbing. "Because you have severe memory loss from a car crash. Every time you see this room, you remember our daughter didn't survive, and you lose your mind all over again." This man lost his mind because his wife kept a spare bedroom locked. A daughter hated her father growing up. While other dads went to games, hers was always working. He wore cheap clothes and obsessed over every penny. At 18, she called him a greedy coward and left home. She got rich building a huge business and ignored his calls for 10 years. Then one day the police called. Her dad died alone. Rolling her eyes, she went to grab his hidden money. But inside his safe, there was zero cash. Just a bank paper showing $0 and old hospital letters. She read the first one and her stomach dropped. As a baby, she had a deadly heart disease. The surgery cost $500,000 and insurance refused to pay. Her dad wasn't greedy. He worked 3 brutal jobs his whole life to pay the massive bill that saved her. He kept it secret so she'd never feel guilty. His last letter was written the day she left. "My debt is finally paid. My little girl gets to live a full life. I am the richest man in the world." Daughter hated her father growing up. While other dads went to games, hers was always working. He wore cheap clothes and obsessed over every penny. At 18, she called him a greedy coward and left home. She got rich building a huge business and ignored his calls for 10 years. Then one day the police called. Her dad died. This blind man got his vision back after 10 years in the dark. But what happened next is terrifying. At 25, a chemical accident took his sight. For a decade, he lived blindly with his guide dog and loyal wife. Then he slips on ice, smacks his head, and wakes up to the impossible. He can see! He cries looking at his wife's face again. But soon, things get weird. He compliments her red dress, but she's wearing blue. He reaches to pet his dog and kicks a table. He yells at a stranger at the mall, but it's literally just a mannequin. The brutal truth? He never got his vision back. That fall destroyed his brain's vision center, triggering a terrifying condition called Anton Babinski syndrome. He's still completely blind, but to cope, his mind creates a hallucinated reality built from old memories. He's happily describing a sunny day while his wife watches him talk to walls, knowing his mind is broken forever. Blind man got his vision. A man loses his wife in a fatal crash and grieves alone for a year. Then one day she walks into the kitchen, alive, like nothing happened. He thinks he's insane, but she feels completely real. He can hug her, hear her laugh, and smell her perfume. A doctor diagnoses him with a rare grief disorder. His brain is creating full sensory hallucinations to protect him. He's given a brutal choice. Take the meds and erase her forever, or keep her and let the illusions grow. He chooses her. 10 beautiful years pass. Their daughter even visits every Sunday for dinner. But one Sunday, his daughter is laughing when her face suddenly glitches. His wife gently grabs his hand and whispers, "Honey, you know she's not real either, right?" His real daughter died in that exact same crash. His brain hid her death for 11 straight years because losing both would have ruined him forever. Man loses his wife in a fatal crash and grieves alone for a year. Then one day she walks into the kitchen, alive. A lonely elderly man moved into a nursing home. He barely spoke, barely ate, just sat by the window all day. Then one afternoon, a new female patient sat beside him, and something clicked instantly. Same weird humor, same obscure music, finishing each other's sentences like they'd known each other forever. Within weeks, they were inseparable, and he told the nurses he'd finally found his soulmate. Then his daughter came to visit, saw them holding hands, and burst into tears. The old man smiled and said, "Don't cry, sweetie. I want you to meet my new girlfriend." His daughter couldn't believe her eyes. She whispered, "Dad, that's Mom." They'd actually been married for 50 years before severe Alzheimer's wiped both their memories completely. But even with their minds fully erased, their hearts still recognized each other, and they fell in love all over again. Lonely elderly man moved into a nursing home. He barely spoke, barely ate, just sat by the window all day. Then one afternoon, a new female patient sat beside him, and something...
Here's how you can sound like.
This is a rapper.
A man discovered he had the power to respawn every time he died, but it turned into the ultimate nightmare. It started when a bus hit him, but instead of fading to black, he woke up in his bed that exact same morning. He realized his life had a save point. For 60 years, bro lived like an absolute god. He jumped from planes, took crazy risks, and made millions, knowing if anything went wrong, he'd just reset. He lived a full, happy life, reached 95, and finally died peacefully in his sleep. But the very next second, his eyes snapped open. He was still 95 and still dying of heart failure. He died again 5 minutes later in agonizing pain, only to instantly wake right back up in that same hospital bed. His save point had updated. Now he's trapped dying of old age every 5 minutes for all of eternity. If life really is a simulation, you better pray you never unlock immortality. Man discovered he had the power to respawn every time he died, but it turned into the ultimate nightmare. This rescue pilot had to make a choice. No idea it would come back to destroy him. Flying over a dangerous flood, he spots a CEO and an old man on a sinking roof. With one seat left, the CEO screams he'll wire $5 million to leave the old guy behind. Blinded by greed, the pilot takes the money and lets the man drown. He buys a mansion and lives in luxury with his newborn son. 5 years later, his son's heart fails, needing a wildly rare transplant. Desperate, he tries bribing the surgeon, who says money can't fix this. They checked the global registry and found literally one perfect match on Earth. The pilot demands they fly him in, but the surgeon shakes his head. The donor drowned 5 years ago in that exact flood. When the doctor hands over the file, the pilot freezes in horror. The photo shows the old man he abandoned. By taking that bribe, he killed the only person who could save his son. Rescue pilot had to make a choice. No idea it would come back to destroy him. Flying over a dangerous flood, he spots a CEO and an old man.
Breaking news. A man is...
A bully throws a quiet kid's laptop into a swimming pool, laughing as it sinks. He had no idea he just sealed his own tragic fate. The kid broke down, explaining the laptop held research for a medical scholarship, his only escape from poverty. The bully told him to go flip burgers. The kid dropped out, his dreams crushed, while the bully got filthy rich and married his sweetheart. But 15 years later, karma hits hard. His wife gets a rare, aggressive brain tumor with no known cure. Desperate, the millionaire spends a fortune trying to heal her, until a doctor reveals a student once proposed a theoretical cure, but vanished. He demands to fund the research instantly, but when the doctor shows a picture of the student, he stares at the screen in pure horror. The photo shows the quiet kid. The exact cure to save his wife was on the laptop he destroyed. Remember, bridges you burn today might be the only ones that can save you tomorrow. Bully throws a quiet kid's laptop. This man spent 3 years in love with the woman who saved his life, only to realize she never existed. At 22, he was totally broke, sleeping in his freezing car. But one night, a girl hands him a coffee. She becomes his soulmate, helping him turn his whole life around until they finally get an apartment. Proud of his new life, he invites his mom over for dinner. Sitting at the table, he's smiling, holding his girlfriend's hand. But his mom is staring in pure horror, crying. She points and whispers, "Honey, who are you holding hands with?" The girl whispers, "I'm sorry," and vanishes. The truth is, he was suffering from severe schizophrenia. The extreme loneliness of the streets was so bad, his brain invented a guardian angel just to keep him alive. He actually saved himself, but now he has to grieve a woman who was only in his head. This man spent 3 years in love with the woman who saved his life, only to realize she never existed.
Goodbye, YouTube Music. Goodbye, Apple Music. Goodbye, Spotify. I found a better app. Listen to music from YouTube without ads or YouTube Premium.
A man and a woman meet in a coffee shop and instantly fall in love. They have the exact same bizarre birthmark, share weird memories, and finish each other's sentences. They get married and spend 3 perfect years together. But one night, the wife starts violently coughing. She looks at him terrified and whispers, "They're pulling the plug." Then she dissolves into thin air. The husband wakes up gasping in a real-world hospital bed. A nurse rushes over crying that he finally woke up from a 3-year coma. He looks at the bed next to him, and a dead woman is lying there. It was his wife. They were 2 strangers in comas whose dying brains somehow synced frequencies to create a shared multiplayer dream. She died in real life, so she vanished from his. Now he has to spend the rest of his life mourning a soulmate he technically never even met. Man and a woman meet in a coffee shop and instantly fall in love. They have the exact same bizarre birthmark. Imagine becoming a millionaire overnight, but the price is literally selling your own mind. Bro, there is a terrifying concept called the memory trade, an underground black market where you can extract your life experiences for cold, hard cash. One guy's story proves exactly why this is pure nightmare fuel. Desperate for money, he started by selling off his entire childhood. Boom, instant wealth. But his early years became a blank void. Needing more, he sold his first love, completely erasing what heartbreak or romance even felt like. But then he made the ultimate mistake. For his final massive payout, he sold the exact memory of why he needed the money in the first place. Now, he wakes up in a massive mansion surrounded by endless luxury. He's filthy rich, but his mind is completely empty. No idea who he is or why he sacrificed his own sanity to get there. Would you make the trade? Imagine becoming a millionaire overnight, but...
Okay, buddy, let's match my color. You just need to add a little bit.
This man was offered $10 million to survive in a completely white room for 30 days. But what happened to him is pure psychological horror. No windows, no sound, and zero color. Just a silent, blinding void. Most people think it's easy money, but the white room is a trap for your mind. By week 2, his brain started to glitch. Without any sensory input, your mind literally begins to manufacture its own reality just to stay sane. He started hallucinating an entire life, a wife, kids, and a whole career. And it didn't feel like a dream. It felt more solid than the floor he was sitting on. By day 25, he wasn't just seeing things. He was living in a completely different timeline. When the 30 days were up, he didn't even care about the money. He begged to stay inside because his fake life felt more real than ours. So, is $10 million worth losing your grip on reality forever? This man was offered $10 million to survive in a completely white room for 30 days.
Okay, buddy, let's.
Imagine becoming a millionaire overnight, but the price is literally a man and a woman meet in a coffee shop and instantly. Imagine becoming a.
Okay, buddy, let's. Okay, but.
This man was offered This man lived the worst day of his life 40 times in one afternoon, and it's a real medical condition. A husband gets a devastating call. His wife was in a fatal crash. The shock is so intense that his brain literally breaks to protect him. It triggers transient global amnesia, completely shutting down his ability to make new memories. 15 minutes later, his brain resets. He looks around, totally confused why he's crying. He picks up his dropped phone, plays the voicemail, and discovers his wife is dead. He drops to his knees, screaming in pure agony all over again. 15 minutes later, another reset. His brain tried to save him, but actually trapped him in a nightmare, forcing him to feel the fresh, crushing grief of losing his wife every 15 minutes for a whole day. We think memory loss is just forgetting the past, but what if true hell is discovering the worst
Don't know.
truth of your life over and over? This man
No.
lived the worst day of his life 40 times in one afternoon, and it's a real medical condition. What if a single punch to the head could instantly turn you into a mathematical genius? Back in 2002, a college dropout named Jason Paget was just a regular party guy who absolutely hated math. But everything changed when he was attacked outside a karaoke bar and knocked out cold. When he woke up, reality looked totally different. Instead of seeing the world normally, everything he looked at was broken down into crazy mathematical patterns and shapes. Even water going down a drain looked like a complex web of numbers. The severe trauma actually forced his brain to completely rewire itself just to survive. And in the process, it accidentally unlocked a hidden part of his mind. Almost overnight, this college dropout transformed into a brilliant physicist. It honestly makes you wonder, is there an absolute genius locked inside your brain right now, just waiting for the right trigger to wake up? If a single punch to the head could... This guy woke up from a 5-year coma, only to realize his waking life was the actual nightmare. After a brutal accident, he slips into a vegetative state, but inside his mind, his brain builds a terrifying apocalyptic wasteland.